Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Seriously, it's great to have you here. Today we're diving into a major political showdown that's getting national attention. The U.S. Department of Justice has stepped in to challenge California's newly approved congressional district map, and the ripple effects could shape political power for years. So grab a seat, because this one's big. So let's get into what actually happened. California voters recently approved a ballot measure giving the state legislature the power to redraw congressional districts for the next 3 election cycles. That's a pretty big shift, considering the job normally goes to a nonpartisan commission. And the new map? It's projected to add about 5 Democratic-leaning districts. No surprise, critics say that's a massive partisan advantage. Now here's where things heat up. The Department of Justice jumped into the lawsuit arguing that the map violates the 14th and 15th Amendments. The suit claims the map was drawn with racial considerations as the dominant factor, specifically saying lawmakers used Latino population numbers as a primary driver for shaping certain districts. That's a huge allegation, and it turns a political fight into a constitutional one. This raises a really interesting question. When does trying to protect minority representation cross the line into unconstitutional racial gerrymandering? That's something courts have struggled with for decades. And honestly, how would you feel if someone told you your district was shaped based on race? Does it feel like protection? Or does it feel like manipulation? There's no easy answer here. But the political implications are massive. Who draws the lines has a real impact on who wins seats in Congress. If you tilt the battlefield, you often tilt the outcome. Some California lawmakers say this was necessary to counter moves in states like Texas and North Carolina, where Republican-run legislatures have pushed maps that strengthen their own party's grip. So it raises another question. Is this map a defensive move or an offensive one? And at what point do both sides just keep escalating? Supporters of California's map argue that voters approved the measure by a pretty wide margin, so it reflects the will of the people. They also say shifting map power to the legislature gives communities, especially minority communities, better representation. On the flip side, opponents argue that even if voters approved it, the map itself may still violate constitutional protections. A popular vote doesn't override constitutional limits, and if race was the main motive in drawing these lines, the courts won't ignore that. Think about this. If you were handed a blank map and told, draw this as fairly as possible, what would that mean to you? Would fairness mean equal population? Competitive districts? Keeping communities together? Minimizing partisan influence? Or something else entirely? This whole fight shows just how subjective and complicated fair can be. So what happens next? The case is moving through federal court, and depending on how the judge rules, California might have to redraw the map or even revert to the independent commission. If the map gets blocked, that could scramble the landscape heading into the next election. If it stays in place, it could shift several House seats and possibly the balance of power in Congress. And whichever way it goes, other states watching this closely might adjust their own strategies. And here's one more thing to think about. Redistricting doesn't just change political lines, it changes people's sense of voice and representation. What happens to communities that suddenly find their power watered down? Or to voters who feel their district was engineered to favor one side? Does it strengthen democracy or weaken trust in the system? Thanks so much for hanging out with me and exploring this story. If you found this breakdown helpful or it gave you something new to think about, please drop a like, share it with someone who loves keeping up with political news, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future videos. And I really want to hear from you. Do you think California's map is a fair correction or a partisan overreach? Let's talk in the comments. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next video.